Okay, this is another lecture, on further, issues in phonology. So, how can we work out what speakers and listeners of the language know? We're still, answering the question here, how to make the difference between phonemes and allophones. Of course, here we have got to answer 3 more questions. What sounds contrast in the language? That is to say, what are the phonemes? And what sounds count as the same? That is to say, which sounds are allophones of a single phoneme? By allophones, we mean realizations or pronunciations of the phoneme. When a phoneme has 2 or more allophones, what rule does the speaker have for which one occurs where? The first step, is there contrast? How do you tell if 2 sounds S1 and S2 correspond to 2 phonemes or just 1? Here, if you still remember, we talked about the solution of the minimal pair. Can we find a minimal pair? Which means 2 words with different meanings, identical in every way, except that one has S1 where the other has S2. Now, let's talk about, these 2 words, lead and read, kale and care. Okay. Of course, we said that, the 2 sounds, make the contrast between the words. Of course, if we can find a minimal pair with sound 1 in the first word and sound 2 in the second, sound 1 and sound 2 correspond to distinct phonemes. So in English, L and R correspond to 2 distinct phonemes, L and R, okay, because they contrast. Now, the second step, what if there are no minimal pairs? If there are no minimal pairs, probably sound 1 and sound 2 are allophones of a single phoneme. 2 sounds that correspond to a single mental sound. Now, we would like to know what determines when you get sound 1 and sound 2. That is, what's the rule which is involved in this case and how? So let's, once again, think about the example that we saw before. The pronunciation of the diphthong in English, I. In some words, it is pronounced as I. In some others, it is I. Now, you remember we made a difference between the 2 pronunciations according to the phonetic environment where this diphthong is found. Okay, what influences the sounds? Sounds are influenced by their environment. So look at what sounds are around the ones you are interested in. Environment, it means the surrounding sounds. Look here, we need just to go directly to the result because we already considered this example of I. So in cases where the I is pronounced, we have got the following sound, is voiceless. But when it is just I, we find that the sounds, after it, are all of them voiced. So these are, here, okay? This is where we find I, okay? And this is where we find I, when it is followed by voiceless sounds. So we can say that we can make a generalization in this case. When this I is followed by voiceless sounds, it is pronounced as I. But when it is followed by voiced sounds, it is just I here. Okay, look, this is the rule. Okay, this diphthong is being realized, pronounced as I in the environment where this is the place where it is found, where it is followed by voiceless sounds. In this case, we can talk about complementary distribution. When 2 sounds S1 and S2 never occur in the same environment, we say they are in complementary distribution. If 2 sounds are in complementary distribution and they are similar, we can conclude that they are allophones of a single phoneme. And this is the case of I and I. One is always followed by voiced sounds, and the other one is always followed by voiceless sounds. So the place where we can find S1, we cannot find S2. They never occur in the same environment, so they are in complementary distribution. This is just a way, to show, complementary distribution. Clark Kent and Superman, they can never be in the same place here. Okay, what do we conclude from here? In general, this is the procedure that we have to follow. Number one, we have to look for minimal pairs. If we find some, it's done. We have got the answer. You have two different phonemes. Not found, if you don't have any minimal pair, then we can ask this question: are the sounds in complementary distribution? Are the sounds similar? Look at the environment of the sounds. What determines the outcome? Okay. Now let's talk about vowel length in Japanese. Here we have got examples from Japanese, and we are going to talk about these two sounds, this short one and this long one. This is the long one in here, and here we have got the short ones in here. Okay. Now, there is a minimal pair, actually more than one minimal pair for O and O. If we go back here, let's talk about examples of words. We can say that in fact the two sounds are found in in what we call minimal pairs. So in fact O and O contrast in Japanese, so they are not allophones of a single phoneme but correspond to two different phonemes. Okay. Now, this is the rule that we have got in our mind. Here we have got two different phonemes in our mind, and these two different phonemes are being pronounced differently, okay, according to the rules we store in our mind here. This one is the realization corresponding to this phoneme, and this one is the realization corresponding to this phoneme here. Okay. Now, what about English? Here we have got a set of words here, and we have got another set of words. Okay, so we have got beat, bead, seed, seed, leak, league. What do we notice here as the last sound here? We have got t, s, f, p. All these are voiceless, and here we have got d, d, g, and z, z, v, v, b. All these are voiced. Now, here this one is shorter as compared to this one. This one is longer. What makes this one longer and this one shorter? It's the following sound in here. Here the following sound is voiceless. T, k, s, f, p. Here the following sound is voiced. T, t, z, k, d, g, z, and v, okay, and b. So, do they contrast? Can you find a minimal pair? Of course. Okay. We don't have minimal pair because we have got E and E, and we have got T and D. So more than one sound that are different. Okay. So sit, seed. So two different sounds in these two words here. So it's not a minimal pair. Okay. Are E and E in complementary distribution? Of course, they are in complementary distribution because the context where we find one, we don't find the other. This one is always followed by voiceless sound. This one is always followed by voiced one. Same thing across all these words here. Okay. Now, where does E appear? Where does E appear? Same thing. Now, the environment, the short vowel E only occurs before voiceless consonants. The long vowel E only occurs before voiced consonants. So, these two sounds do not contrast. They are allophones of a single phoneme. This is what exists in the mind of the native speaker. We have got one phoneme, and this one phoneme, through the rules that are stored in the mind of the native speaker, it can be pronounced as E or E. Okay. This is another way of showing this rule. We have got A is being realized as B, in the context where it is placed between C and D here. A certain phoneme is realized as a certain allophone in a certain environment. Okay, so once again, go back here. This is A, this is the sound we are interested in. It becomes, or realized, is pronounced as B. In this context, when it is placed between C and D. This is the rule here. Okay. So in our English case, this vowel is being realized as long, in which context? When it is, this is its place, when it is followed by voiced sounds here. Okay.